work. Let's talk a little bit about externally. Third-party risk management. Can you tell me what that means to you?
Yeah, so third-party risk management is certainly a hot topic, and I think the reason it's so important is because, as organizations, oftentimes it makes sense that we can outsource a critical service or a function to a third party. They can often do it more effectively, sometimes at a cheaper cost than what we could do it internally. The one thing that we have to remember is that while we can outsource that service, we can't outsource that responsibility. And I think the biggest risk that we see with that with clients all the time is that there's this false sense of security. If you outsource something to either a large organization or a cloud provider, that we sort of assume that they are taking care of our data like we would take care of our data. But they are people just like we are, right? And they're prone to mistakes. So we've got to make sure that the controls that we have internally, we're extending those to the third party. So we've seen too many times that when organizations are breached and it happens to be a third party, your clients, your customers, that responsibility is going to sit squarely on your shoulders. They're not going to go to the third party. So super important that we make sure that we extend those controls out to the third parties that we're doing business with.
Okay, so say what you said again, where you said you can outsource.
You can outsource the service. You can't outsource the responsibility.
And that's huge.
Yeah, that's key. That's key.
People really need to be thinking about that. So now that we know why it's important and where our risk is at, can you give us some actionable steps to address it? Because that's what everyone wants to know. What do we do about it?
Right. A bullet point list here. So the first thing to think about, and I always like to say this, you can't protect what you don't know about. So the first thing to do is get a good listing of the vendors that you're doing business with. So if you've never done this exercise before, this may be very eye-opening. You may find that there's certain departments that have kind of gone rogue, so to speak, and they've contracted with third parties you're not even aware of. So the first thing, you got to get a good listing of the vendors that you're doing business with. The second thing is you want to risk rank them. So you've got that listing, kind of go through and find out what services they are providing to you and determine where the risk is. Does that vendor have access to your information? And that will dictate the risk level. The third thing is once you have the vendor listing, you've risk ranked them, you want to determine the due diligence requirement. So if you've determined that a vendor that you've got is a high risk vendor, for example, you might annually want to review some type of third party assessment that they've had done, like a SOC 2 report, maybe look at their financials, reviewing them on an ongoing basis. The last thing here is you got to make sure that it's within a policy. So you got to make sure a policy is in place that talks about everything that you need to do from onboarding a vendor to the ongoing due diligence, and that's super important to make sure it's documented.
Yeah. So basically you're saying if it's not written down, it doesn't count.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. That's helpful information. It's always nice to have some bullet points or a to-do list.
That's right.
So now that we've discussed governance and culture and third-party risk management, let's talk a little bit about the difference between security and compliance, because it is different, but how?
No, you're right. So we live in a very compliance-driven world where everyone's looking to check the box. And so often we have clients come to us to say, what do I have to do to meet X framework? And checking the box does not equal security because I can assure you that hackers are looking beyond checking the box, right? So to have a true security mindset for your organization, what that looks like is a well-functioning risk management program. And when we say the word risk assessment, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But what we're talking about here is that there's a process for you to define your risk, understand the likelihood of those threats, and then find any mitigating controls that need to be in place. Sometimes you may already have some of those, sometimes you need to put some into place, and this can't be a set and forget it, right?
Yeah.
Your risks are always changing, so you've got to make sure that this is a living document that you continue to revisit many times throughout the year.